Hello, this is Peter, VK3YE, and thought I'd do a quick Ask Me Anything live video. Been very busy with other things, so I haven't sorted out anything regarding lights or camera. But is a convenient time for a lot of people in the United States, being Sunday afternoon, and also Europe Sunday evening. So yeah, it's Monday morning here, about 7 a.m. Yeah, I really must do something about the camera and everything. Anyway, we've got our first comment from the from 9A3LET. So good to have you on. And yep, if you've just turned on, we've got 9 people already. I haven't promoted it on Facebook or anything like that. When I do that, sometimes I have problems. We haven't got the most reliable of broadband connections here, and sometimes things drop out. So if I disappear, that's the reason for that. But yeah, it's been really busy. Had some a great hamfests. Had a great hamfest on Saturday. I've recently uploaded a video on all the bargains from that, and what you're seeing now on the screen is one of the results from that. A small frequency counter. Now, I haven't been searching them very much, but you can get them on eBay. I think some actually go as high as 1,000 megahertz. But anyway, I've tried this. G'day to the security bunker. Yep, all is good. And anyway, I've tried it on 70 centimeters and it works fine. There's not a lot to it, mostly surface mount parts. It was off frequency when I tried it. It was 36 kilohertz high on UHF. How to start QSOs on 3 centimeter band. Thanks for your question. Unfortunately, I've got no idea. Never tried microwaves. And 101 blog, hi to you, and to EOKKQ. Yeah, if anyone's got comments on 3 gigahertz, then and just leave them in the comments. But yeah, unfortunately, I can't help you on that. I suppose some people have used transverters from lower frequency radios like the FT817, and I think in the old days people used gun diodes and things and transmitted broadband FM. You wouldn't need to be very frequency stable on that, but then your efficiency wouldn't be as good as, say, SSB. Yeah, transverters down to 2 meters. Yep. Yeah, this is sort of a nifty little frequency counter. The only thing is that I've been able to get it on nearer to on frequency with this trimmer. So it's now only 10 kilohertz off on 70 centimeters. Did I add the 10 picofarad capacitor to the counter? Well, the first thing when I got up this morning, I thought, let's add the capacitor to the counter. And then I noticed the way that the board is joined. You might not be able to see it clearly in the picture. Maybe you can. But anyway, it's soldered on both sides. So it might be tricky unsoldering it. I'm thinking, you could do, if you're very careful, could do a very bodgy repair and solder the 10 picofarad. It's a bit hard to get to one side of the trimmer. Potentially solder it across there. Then you might melt the case of the trimmer. So yeah, no, I haven't yet done the trimmer thing. Maybe there's another connection on the board that you could solder across. So yeah, no, I haven't yet added the 10 picofarad. Great to have 11 people viewing as well. So yeah, this is sort of a nice little frequency counter. Another thing I picked up, another thing is that I haven't made a video of this yet because they're still trading, but there's one electronic shop here in Melbourne called Truscott's Electronics, an amazing shop. It's sort of disposals and stuff. Anyway, I went in there last week, got a few things. PA1TAS, Paul, good to have you viewing. Anyway, in this place called Truscott's, which if you're in Melbourne is closing in about a month or so, you can unstack the counter, then mount it underneath the trimmer. Yes, yeah, I should do that, but I'm lazy undoing, solder on both sides. It's because there's like 16 connections or so. If I use the solder sucker, I could possibly, then you might apply too much heat and damage the board and the plastic in there. So yeah, looks like I can easily get to one of the connections in the trimmer. The other is a little bit harder, but if you're quick, you might just be able to make a soldered connection without melting the trimmer. Maybe if you had a bit of tin copper wire and pliers and you had the soldering iron on it, so only a little bit of the surface was touching, you might be able to get a solder join there. It's too thin, too little clearance to put the soldering tip down there. So yeah, maybe I'll look into that. Anyway, one of the things from Truscott's Electronics is, somewhere I've got the bag this came with. Here it is. I've talked about Talking Electronics previously on my videos. They are an outfit that used to sell FM bugs and beginners books. In fact, underneath here is a Talking Electronics book, 5 more FM bugs. And yeah, Talking Electronics is, most of the time it's been a one-man business. Guy called Colin Mitchell, who's not too far from here. Yeah, 3-hole solder sucker. Yeah, good idea. Anyway, for a while he was selling these books, and they were $3.50, so they were cheaper than the electronic magazines, and they were packed full of stuff for beginners. Yeah, no, it's not tricky dicky. Although at the end, Dick Smith did sell some of these books. Just having a look here at a date here, July 95. So yeah, Talking Electronics is basically a small, or it still is, mail order business. It's specialized in hobby electronics for people just starting out, and also FM bugs. And every now and then you'd have these quirky little articles in the books as well on a non-electronic topic, which is a bit of fun to read. But yeah, there's if you're interested in the guy, he's sort of real entrepreneur, guy called Colin Mitchell, and there's a 5-part video interview by EEV blog Dave Jones, and it talks about how he set up the magazines and the FM bugs, and how he tried to set up an electronics magazine in America and it didn't quite work. So yeah, really interesting listening and viewing. So look that up, EEV blog, Colin Mitchell interview. There's 5 parts. So these were the one of the Talking Electronics books. So very simply, economically produced, and he kept the prices quite low. In fact, you can still buy the kits. And g'day to Laird Lawrence, and note that you do the chat with Peter3PB. Yeah, and quite ingenious, so really good technical explanations. And you can still get a lot of the stuff on the Talking Electronics website. Someone mentioned Dick Smith before. Yeah, there's a Dick Smith ad. They don't exist anymore. They went into consumer electronics and made some bad business decisions, and no more. But Dick Smith himself, he sold out in 1982, so a long time ago. So that's so talkingelectronics.com. You can read a lot of the Talking Electronics books, really good for beginners, and there's a lot of stuff that he's updated since then. Anyway, yeah, so this FM bug, it's got packaged talking electronics, but on the other side of the thing, Truscott's Electronics World. So that's the place that's closing down in about a month or so, and and they've got all sorts of things, are half new components and half disposals, and they've got things that no one else has, like variable capacitors, MC1496s, RF chips. They had all these beehive trimmers, really good VHF trimmers. So yeah, that's Truscott's. If you're in Melbourne, they're in Croydon South. Anyway, the contents of the bag that I'm holding is this FM Bug, which came pre-assembled. It's a talking electronics kit. Maybe this will get a better view of it. Yeah, little FM Bug. Unlike other FM wireless microphones, this one is crystal controlled. Toon says, Kat, what do I do for a living, yet self-employed? Been so since late last year, and it's great. Yeah, working on some books at the moment, actually. I'm taking a bit of a break from that because, once you've written a book that's like 99% finished, I reckon you should leave it for a while and then don't think about the book for a while, even though in fact you actually do. You have some ideas, but and you can write them down. That's okay, so you remember them. But don't look at the book or edit it or anything for a while. The idea of that is that you come back with a fresh mind and can spot all the errors that you might have missed because you're too close to the job. So yeah, I'm giving the book a bit of a break at the moment, but I'll come back to it and we'll have some news on that, I don't know, in weeks, months, whenever. Anyway, GOMEJ, good to have you on, and noted that you are a member of GQRP. Yeah, I get the sprat here as well. And Tunce's Cat, thanks for buying my QRP book. Yeah, there's several books. That one's called Minimum QRP. There's some other books as well, hand-carried QRP antennas, which has been really popular. 99 Things to Do with Amateur Radio. There's a book on getting back into amateur radio, and the most recent is Amateur Radio Dictionary. So yeah, all those books, you can get them either in electronic or paperback. Have a look at my website, VK3YE.com. So yeah, this is an FM wireless microphone. As it came from the package, a couple of the coils here were not round, so I round them. I couldn't get the thing to oscillate, so I substituted one coil. I had this 1 microhenry RF choke. And Stephen, thanks, glad you enjoy the books, M6EXF. And yeah, anyway, I put in this RF choke and I did get the thing to oscillate. The tuning is really fine. This is quite an unusual FM Bug circuit because it uses a crystal, which is great because it's frequency stable. But the tuning on these capacitors is really fine. In fact, we'll might as well have a look at the circuit because I've got the book right here. G'day to WA30. Okay, let's look it up. Crystal locked FM Bug, page 20. Yeah, like the most common, type of FM bugs, which work quite well. They sound good. Is this little wasp? You can probably find the circuit on the Talking Electronics website. So that's a good bug to start off with. Actually, we should call them wireless microphones. Yeah, we don't bug people here. Yeah, no, that's not very nice. So anyway, this is the crystal locked FM Bug. You can find its circuit online. You don't have to have this book. And that is this little guy here. Yeah, so it was 90% built when I got it from Truscott's, and I thought, oh well, I've always been intrigued about crystal bug because it would be nice and stable, and yeah, you can hold it without it drifting in frequency. So yeah, they've got a range of 600 meters. So here's the circuit. Now there are a few tuned circuits in it. It uses a 10 megahertz crystal. Stephen Morton, did I check the output of the 2-meter rig? No, haven't done so yet. And I'm curious about that switch on the front panel. It doesn't seem to do anything. Maybe it's a transmitter output thing to vary it. Seems to need a new mic, low audio. Yeah, it probably is. And KC3LO. Well, make sure you go and get your license. There's a lot of new things in ham radio, so get it back and enjoy some of the things like JS8 is quite new, JSH Core. I did a video on that recently. So yeah, that's quite a fun digital mode to try. I much prefer it to FT8. JS8 reminds me a lot of PSK31. It's a lot more personal, keyboard to keyboard type conversations. Yeah, it's slower than PSK31, but it I think it gets through the noise a bit better and for weak signals. Okay, this crystal lock bug. Yeah, if we look at the circuit, as described, it uses a 10 megahertz crystal. And Led, glad that you're just up from G4 AKC. Yeah, haven't been doing any pedestrian mobile lately. Been a bit cold here in the middle of winter, but yeah, when the weather gets better, we'll do more of that. Yeah, so looking at this bug circuit, this is VK3YE, and you've got me live where you can ask me anything. And yeah, note the work VK3MO. Yep, great signal. In fact, you can, if you come to Victoria, you can see Ian's signals from you can see Ian's antennas from the train. You know, he's just out of Melbourne at a place called Kyneton, and if you look left, you see the signal antennas. So yeah, very impressive setup. And when you hear Ian, you hear sort of this echo in the signal because you hear both the short path and the long path. And yeah, so yeah, great signal. So yeah, with this FM bug, there are multiple tuned circuits. As it comes up, it's it has a 10 megahertz crystal, and the output is 90 megahertz. But the problem is that since this bug was built, there's more FM stations, including one on 89.9, which makes 90 megahertz completely useless. So I've put in another crystal for 12 megahertz. You might need to make some fiddling around here and maybe get it on another frequency. Okay, what's this? A few questions here. So, have any advice for self-build variable capacitors? How much picofarad for a 20-meter magnetic loop? 20-meter magnetic loop, I would say off the top of my head, about 100 picofarad, but it really depends on the size of the loop. Like if it's a big loop, it might only be 50 picofarad. It's a small loop, 200, but by the time it's 200, it won't be very efficient. So my guess would be around 100 picofarad. But self-build variable capacitors, it's much easier if it's a fixed type variable capacitor. I did a video on a home station magnetic loop that uses coaxial cable as a capacitor, or most of the capacitance is fixed, uses RG213 coax, but a small part of the capacitance is variable, where I make something out of overlapping printed circuit board material, and that allows you to vary the range of around 100 kilohertz within the band. So that is a possibility. But yeah, there's all have a look on the web. There's all sorts of other designs for variable capacitors and homebrew capacitors for loops. Some people use drink cans and things and have them sliding in and out. What's the simplest design for a 10 watt, 40 meter, 80 meter CW nonlinear amp? Well, maybe something using an IRF 510. Although 10 watts, I think some people have got 10 watts with, you probably need a higher voltage, like say 20 volts or something to give you 10 watts. But yeah, most of the QRP designs you see are for 12 volts, but an IRF 510, if you want that sort of power, you want a bit higher voltage, which might not be so much of a problem if you've got a switch mode power supply. I think I've built an amplifier, or you know, you can find power supplies that, 12 volts in and you might get 20 or 30 volts out at, say, an amp or two, and that would be fine for driving an IRF 510 amp at higher power. I built one. I haven't had it on the air, but I built one. I think it gives me about 15 or 20 watts from an IRF 510, and that's with around 20 or 25 volts. So yeah, the IRF 510s, if you want decent power from them, you can either build an amp with a pair of them where you might be able to get 10 watts from 12 volts, or I think that might be what the BitX that use, the Micro BitX, they might use a pair of IRF 510s. I could be wrong. But anyway, I either use a pair of them for 12 volts or a single transistor and a high voltage, and you can get a bit more power. And a pair of them are, I've seen in 50 watt amplifiers with about 30 volts or so. Yeah, I hope so. I hope I've answered the question on the magnetic loops. If you've just turned on with 25 viewers, it's great. This is Ask Me Anything, and I'm Peter, VK3YE, and yep, I'm live. What do you think of the Micro BitX transceiver? Yep, I've had a lot of fun with mine. Great portable rig. They are a bit clunky on CW. Yeah, you can have CW contacts on them, but if you're a really dedicated CW operator, CW is thrown in as an afterthought. It works, but not ideal. It's more for the SSB operator. QCX or Micro BitX. I haven't had any personal experience with the QCX, but I think they are better for CW. QCX is CW only. Micro BitX, it's SSB. It's got CW, but it's an afterthought. So yeah, and of course the QCX I think is only single band. So whereas the Micro BitX is multi-band. Shortwave pirates, no, in Australia, no, not that I know of. Although we do have some legitimate shortwave broadcasters around 5 megahertz on AM. There's a commercial radio station up in Queensland, 4KZ, and they have a shortwave outlet, so you can listen to them in the outback. Micro BitX, some harmonic spur problems. Yeah, if you have a look at the some of the Micro BitX websites, I've got a link to it from my website, VK3YE.com. There's a page on Micro BitX. And anyway, yeah, there's quite a lot of discussion about how to fix the spurs. There are various versions of the Micro BitX. You could describe it as a work in progress, and there's been some pros and cons and ideas and mods. So hopefully that will be informative. QCX works well. Yep. Yeah, I've heard good reports of it. Like a local here has had problems. I think he reversed polarity connected it or something. So yeah, have to be careful with powering it up, and he blew it up. What is my local time? Local time here in Melbourne is 7:23 a.m. Favorite books or recommend for self-builders? There's a book called Solid State Design for the Radio Amateur. That's way out of print, I think. Yeah, it's 1970s, 1980s. The newer one is Experimental Methods in RF Design. That's by Wes Haywood and a few others. So yeah, that's basically the Bible of homebrew amateur radio. So yeah, that's a good book to get. PD4Z for self-builders. Don't you find the use of switching transistors less than friendly within the narrow linear region? Yes, they are very critical. When you adjust the bias, it's a very narrow range of settings, and if you've got it too high, then it takes off and gets hot and blows up and bang. So yeah, hi to friends. Yeah, Netherlands shortwave pirates. No pirates on medium wave. Yeah, no, we have very little pirate radio. It's not unknown, but yeah, it's not like Europe or America. There's not much of a pirate scene here. So burnt out all my BS170s. Yeah. Oh yeah, it's only a tiny little transistor. Yeah, QCX is it's CW. I think that's the way to go. In fact, I think could be wrong, mate. I think the QCX 170 uses BS 170s for the final. They're quite efficient. Where do I find salvage crystals and oscillator modules? Well, old computers, a lot of things have crystal oscillator modules. You know, you can get frequencies like 14.318, which is actually in the emitter band. But yeah, all different frequencies for old computers, boards. You might see old modems as well. Usually they've got 2 or 3 crystals, and people are throwing out old modems. Here I've done a few videos on this council cleanup where people just leave rubbish on the street verge, and they and the council come along and pick it up. Yeah, so have a look on the street and electronic stuff, and a lot of things have crystals and oscillator modules. Yeah, we've got some questions. Whisper beacon GPS module, same line. So when plugged in, okay. L match. Yeah, good luck with the L match. Yeah, have to test it on the beach. And hi to Hendrik OZ9ADD. Any more 2-meter SSB Tropo DX lately? There has been a bit of stuff in the winter and a bit of sporadic E, but not as much as during the summer. On 10 meters, I have quite a high noise level as well. So there's been times when I've heard signals. They can probably hear me, but haven't able to have proper contact. And yep, you can get quite a lot of crystals from eBay. Hi to Mohammed. But yeah, 2 meters SSB, a lot of fun. Can I safely connect a non-50 ohm antenna to my HF transceiver for receive only? Yeah, no problems at all. It will probably be just as good as a 50 ohm antenna. The only thing is that with the impedance slightly off, the power transfer might not be as much, but on receive, that really doesn't matter, especially in an urban environment. On receive, signal to noise ratio is really important. It doesn't matter. Most modern receivers are sensitive enough that it's fine if you lose some of the signal, you're also losing the same amount of noise. So, yep, your reception will not be spoiled. So, yep, random wire is fine. If you, on some frequencies like 28 megahertz, especially where the receiver gets less sensitive or the noise drops, you could build a little antenna coupler like an L match that will allow you to peak the signal, but you probably won't get any better reception. So yeah, for receiving, important thing is to minimize the amount of noise getting to your antenna. And so if you've got a random wire going straight from your house up into a tree, you might get lower noise if you had coaxial feed line and some sort of dipole or something. But yeah, no, random wire would be fine. If you've just turned on, this is Ask Me Anything, and it's Peter VK3YE, and I'm live. Yeah, another thing I do is the daily antenna blog, which and it's not quite about antennas, so I've changed it to include some other topics. But yeah, dailyantenna.blogspot.com. So one post a day on that. And yep, definitely have to pull out the Beach 40 and make some double sideband contacts. I've actually I can't say much because it's a review transceiver. There's a very exciting review coming up. G'day to Peter, VK3FWTF, and thanks for the photo as well. And glad you enjoy the video blog. And yep, I'm not my tripod is in the other room, and I'm just holding a pole focused on this blurry page in front of the table. So yeah, yeah, I'm actually I've shot some video footage. I won't be able to upload it for a while, but there is a new double sideband CW transceiver kit that has come out. you'll be able to get, or it's coming out, you'll be able to get versions on 80 and 40 meters. Do I have another tax in the works? Sorry, don't understand you. I'm not the government. Yeah, this 80 meter double sideband rig, at least I've got the 80 meter, it's been lent the 80 meter version to test. There's also a 40 meter version. If you worked me on, if you're Australian, if you worked me on the recent Trans-Tasman contest, you would have heard me double sideband on 80 meters. It was Saturday night with this particular transceiver. Yeah, I'm really liking it, but it's direct conversion, 80 meters, CW and double sideband. And yeah, had about 52 contacts during the contest, furthest probably about 1,000 kilometers on 80 meters. So yeah, that is a double sideband rig coming out as a kit. And yep, when all that's out, I'll hopefully I'll have a video on that doing a demonstration. And Lazar, Rhode Island, got no idea where it is, but glad that I'm being watched here. Another transmitter in the works. Not immediately. I do have a project. Like this is the start of a regenerative receiver, and all I've done so far is built an audio amplifier. It's a bit hard to see, you can't read it in the picture, but this is a TL431, a voltage regulator that works quite well as an audio amplifier, gives you really good gain. In fact, it's more than the LM386. You can connect a crystal set to it, and it will drive a speaker, whereas the LM386 isn't quite strong enough for that. So yeah, there's a little bit of space on the board, so I might make a regenerative receiver on that. So that's sort of a project. I was going to do it this weekend, but the Hamfest was so good, and we had so much of a haul of stuff from the Hamfest that I was preoccupied with all that. And then there's this little transmitter that is this talking electronics thing. So I want to have a fiddle with this just as an FM wireless microphone. Would you like to make another video about how to start with Whisper, simple software, small transmitter? Maybe I should, but I don't know, too many other projects on the go. What's the favorite gain 40 meter antenna, half square? Yeah, half square is pretty good. Difficult thing is that normally I only have one antenna up at a time. It would be wonderful if you had like 100 QRPs all along the beach. Like, we've got enough beach here. Like the beach here, you can walk 10 kilometers one direction and 10 kilometers the other direction, and it's still all beach sand. And you had lots of QRPs all spread along and all trying to work the same DX with different antennas. That would be fantastic. But yeah, yeah, half square I would say would be amongst the best. Although I'm just trying to think, have I actually built a half square antenna for 40? I have for 30 and I have for 20, but half square requires 10 meter height, and my squid poles are only 9 meters. In fact, they're a bit less because I broke the top section of one. You could fold the ends in a bit on the half square. So yeah, no, I haven't actually built a half square on 40 meters. But yeah, I think it would be a great, it'd be great DX antenna, especially if you're near the beach. Another antenna I tried, which I really liked, I did a video on this fairly recently, a few months ago, was a T antenna, top-loaded vertical, so 5 meters of wire going up, 10 meters across, and that worked quite well. I think that would be quite good. What else? Is a full Whisper transmitter transceiver kit, non-SMD kit. I have no idea. I don't know which Whisper transceiver kit. I think you might be thinking of Hans Summers, G0UPL. I think he has done some Whisper kits. I could be wrong, or QRSS or something. So yeah, I think it's QRP Labs. You can go over to his website. I think that might do Whisper, possibly. Yeah, what else have we got here? This another thing from the Hamfest, CTC SS Encoder kit. As it came, it was the circuit board, but yesterday I put all the parts, populated all the parts. You can find these on eBay. I think what happened with this box, I got this box. If you didn't watch the video from yesterday, I got this box of all these bits and pieces for $10 from the local Hamfest, and all these kits, which I think someone must have gone on an order from China binge on the eBay and bought these little kits. And anyway, this is one of them, a CTC SS encoder. So if you've got a repeater that needs a subtone and your equipment doesn't have it, then yeah, this little thing will help you. So yeah, I've put it together. Very nice, neat little kit. The display presumably tells what frequency you've got the tone set at. I haven't applied power to see if it works, but yeah, that's a there is some documentation on eBay that they're not expensive if you want to get one of these yourself. So yeah, that was one of the finds from Saturday. Okay, 29 viewers, fantastic. I think this might be the most successful Ask Me Live ever. And I'm Peter, VK3YE, where I can answer your questions. Ask me anything. Okay, interesting video from the Hamfest. Yep. I'm glad you enjoyed it. There's another video. I don't have very many scenes of the Hamfest itself, but there's another one from AUS radio historian, a friend of mine, but have a look at him on YouTube, and he has also got a Hamfest video in higher definition than me. That concentrates more on what's around at the various tables. Yeah, we're quite lucky in Melbourne. We've got quite a lot of Hamfests, almost one every month, some of the time. And they still seem to be quite popular and well attended. So yeah, lots of great junk from Hamfests here. This thing you might have seen on the previous video. This is the CW Decoder. It's a Chinese kit, not very expensive. It's it's got a nice display on top of an Arduino-based thing. Yeah, Morse reading. You are showing. Do I know the connection? Yeah. Okay, I can help you on that. Top right is the power connection there. Now, there's a video that I referred to in my video that demonstrates it and talks about its quirks. But these two connections here, this one here on the right and this on the left, are connected right across in parallel with one another. So what you can do, you can plug in your headphones in here and your source from your transceiver, your speaker connection in here. So you can hear your Morse coming out through here. And this one is you plug in a key or keyer. I'm not sure if it requires a modulated thing or not, modulated Morse, but yeah, connection for the key there. But yeah, main connections, you can have them either way. I think they're just in parallel with one another. The audio from the transceiver there, the speaker connection here. This is your power socket. I just put in 12 volts and looks like there's a 78L05 voltage regulator there that drops it down to 5 volts. So yeah, that's the connections. The critical thing as well is this trim pot here. That is really critical. You have to set it to the right frequency, the pitch of your tone. Otherwise, you won't get any decode at all. Samuel, have I ordered anything from Talking Electronics? No, I haven't. But yeah, the prices seem to be quite keenly priced. So yeah, they've got some interesting kits and things, especially if you're starting out in electronics. Also, the website's great as well. So yeah, that's the Morse decoder. I don't think I'll have much use for that. Like, I tried it on a local beacon. Yeah, couldn't get it to work. Yeah, George, yeah. I tried it on HF and it was quite a good signal and well sent Morse. It does, but the setting is really critical. Here in Melbourne, we have a beacon on 2 meters, 145,650. So that is absolutely perfect Morse. It's computer generated. The signal to noise ratio is great. And yeah, if you had the setting right, it worked. But yeah, it was critical. Yeah, what have we got here? This is a bit of a tangle. This is a little SOTA beams kit. Have I played with LDMOS? Never heard of it. Don't know what it is. So no. Yeah, it does look promising when you look at it. But yeah. This is an assembled power conditioner. Looks like I've put the label on wrongly. But yeah, this was one of the kits. Came in the bundle of stuff from the Hamfest. Whisper light. So basically, it's a voltage regulator using a high power MOSFETs. Thanks. Yeah, no, I haven't. Yeah, that comes from SOTA beams. It's a current model kit, and if you've got a Whisper light that requires 5 volts regulated in a clean power supply, then you put your volts in here. Could even come from a switch mode power supply. Could be 12 volts. Could be 9 volts. Anyway, you put it in here, and it's got just a 7805, and it just gives you a nice 5 volts to run your Whisper light. Getting back to this CW thing, mono or stereo, 3.5 millimeter. I use stereo connections. Now, the video that I referred to, Steve Ellington's video on this, he talks about that, and I think you needed, I could be wrong, it's a good idea to watch his video, but I think he needed to use stereo plug rather than mono. The mono plug, I think, shorts out parts of it. So check his video, but he does talk about what plug to use there. And thanks for the info on the LD MOS. 500 out, wow. The main effort would be building the power supply. And it's 7:42 a.m. in Melbourne. We have been going for 42 minutes. And if you've just turned on, it's Ask Me Anything. And I'm Peter VK3YE. Do you have the link to the Morse Reader? I don't think I put the link in my video. But if you just search on YouTube, Steve Ellington, Morse Reader, you should get his video come up. But yeah, I have. But if you also have a look on eBay, you'll find the Morse Reader. But I don't think there's much information provided, so that's where Steve's video can be handy. Okay. What else should I mention? Yeah, I mentioned JSH Core before. Yeah, a few people came up to me in Hamfest saying that, yeah, they've tried it and I recommend it. It does work quite well with low power. 80 meters, the conditions on 80 meters are quite funny at the moment. I tried a contact. Have I ever used Vegemite as alternative solder paste? No, I haven't. What would I wonder what Vegemite would smell like if you burnt it with a soldering iron. Unfortunately, I don't have any Vegemite in the house. But yeah, it would be interesting to try it. What about heatsink compound? I wonder how thermally conductive it is. Oh, that's right. It's in the other room, but something else. I was given a slab of, talking about using materials, I was given a slab of mica. Not a slab, just a very thin bit of mica. So I might do an experiment on making a capacitor with printed circuit board. And I could experiment with mica and compare it with food wrapping material or paper and look at dielectric constants. So yeah, that's a possible experiment. Note that you chat with Peter 3PB. Probably tastes better cooked. Okay, yeah, cheap CW decoder on eBay. Yeah, that sounds right. It's a bit of a JB World is great thermal epoxy. So thanks, Stephen. But yeah, I might do some experiments with mica and experiment with capacitors. I will see. I could go into the other room and see if I can get some of the other bits and pieces. But yeah, 29 viewers. So thanks all for having a look. You can a bit of a quiet spot on the question. So if you've got a question you want to ask, then please do so. I'm Peter VK3YE, and you're listening to me live. And what do we have coming up? We've got a few contests coming up. We had just recently we had the Trans-Tasman contest. That's a low band HF contest. It does 160, 40, and 80 meters. Anyway, I just got onto 80 meters. I was testing this double sideband transceiver. When did you learn Morse and fall in love with it? I learned Morse when I got my ham ticket a bit over 30 years ago. Fall in love with it. Well, it was a requirement for the amateur license then, at least to get on HF. Because I was in the country, VHF wasn't really a possibility. So because you could have got the limited license, which was VHF only, and the more advanced theory exam, or the novice license with the simpler theory exam and the Morse. So I went for the novice license, and that gave you a bit of HF. And so and then my first transmitter, which was homebrew, that was CW only. So yeah, it wasn't. So yeah, Morse. I pretty much had to learn it for the exam and had to learn it to make contacts with the rig that I had. So yeah, I'm not like a huge fan of Morse. Yeah, I enjoy it, like for the odd contest or something. I'll fire it up, but I'm not on Morse every day. Okay, KM QRP QCX kit. What's the best option for frequency for people on the bands? Overall, I'd say 40 meters for local activity within VK. You will occasionally work DX on it, especially if you've got a good antenna. At this spot, this phase of the sunspot cycle, 20 meters I find is difficult with QRP, though it does have its moments. And I have worked around the world on 20 meters. If you've got a good antenna like a beam, then if you're into rubber stamp DX type contacts, then 20 meters. But overall, I'd go with 40 meters. 40 and 20 would be, if you were able to have two bands, I would go 40 and 20. Maybe 30 meters. That has its moments and can be quite good for DX. But yeah, 40 would be our first priority, then 20, then 30, maybe 80 meters. There's not much local 80 meters CW activity. There used to be lots years ago, but it was really active on Saturday actually for the contest. Quite a lot of 80 meter CW contacts. I split my operating between CW and SSB, and I think 2/3 of the contacts were on SSB or double sideband, and 1/3 was on CW. So yeah, good amount of CW activity. Do I know Dave G4AKC? I've spoken to Dave on the air once or twice while he's pedestrian mobile. Yep. Back in ZS, last test was in 2011 and they took it away. Can do the test in ON land. I hear you, VK's early in the morning on 40 meters, but just can't reach you. Best time of day and bands. I suppose early in the mornings would be evening here, late afternoon. That's when we hear the Americans. And basically, it's just a matter of trying and keeping going. Sometimes conditions are good, sometimes they're not. It depends on the other guy's local noise level as well. But yeah, if you persist, you will make contacts between Australia. I suppose it's harder for you guys as there's fewer of us and more of you. There is a net on 40 meters called the 7130 DX net on 7130, but I don't. Can Americans operate SSB that low? I'm not sure, but anyway, there's a website on it, 7130 DX net. 40 meters best. I've worked interstate only about 6 months ago. 20 meters as well. So yeah, 20 meters has its moments as well, and it's probably easy to make DX contacts on 20 meters than 40 meters, but the conditions are probably a bit more volatile. There are online propagation calculators. The times that I've heard Americans on 20 meters have been our morning, have been our morning here, like around, I don't know, 10 or 11 a.m. here. So if you were to add, say, 2 or 3 hours to the current time, and whatever that is in America, you might be able to hear some VKs on 20 meters. Yeah, so both 40 and 20 can be worthwhile for DX. What antenna do I have for 160 meters? I don't have a proper antenna here for 160. I have the G5RV here, which I can load up against ground. By the way, there are propagation charts or programs or websites where you can put in your location and your destination, and it can tell you the best frequency and best time. So that might be helpful. I have tried various, for 160 meter antennas, I have tried various portable antennas. If you've just turned on, I'm Peter VK3YE, and you can ask me anything. And there's been lots of questions, which has been great. What else was in this box of junk? This thing. Never had much of anything to do with these MP3 players, but yeah, this one was there. So quite a slim little thing and quite versatile. Music video. It's even got a microphone inbuilt. And I did some voice recordings. Have I been to Dayton? Yeah, no, I haven't. And it's problem is, I took as much. It's supposed to be a huge hamfest and all that. But we have pretty good hamfests here in Melbourne. They're nowhere near as big, but the amount of stuff that we get is quite amazing. And I reckon there'd be getting the stuff home would be a problem. For us to come to Dayton. Some VKs go to Dayton every, have trips to Dayton, but yeah, there's getting the stuff home, I think, would be a pain, especially if it's worth hardly anything. You'd be spending more on delivery costs than what the stuff is worth. Am I exclusively QRP? Most of the time, but not always. I've got a 100-watt rig. That's my day job, self-employed, so luckily I'm pretty flexible with stuff. I do a lot of writing. Mentioned before, yeah, I've got another book on the way, but yeah, that'll be some time away. Yeah, no, with the 80 meter, with the Trans-Tasman contest, yeah, 80 meters conditions were funny. Had a lot of contacts to VK2s. That's about 700 kilometers away. Do I know if Turlin is still in business? I think they're called Outbacker Antenna Systems, and there's a VK6 ham. I forgot his call sign, but yeah, Western Australian ham. Yeah, I think they are still in business. Terry Clinch, maybe that could be his name. But yeah, I think they are. have to go to bed. So thanks for coming on, and good to have your comments from the Netherlands. And amazing, we've still got an internet connection, hasn't dropped out. Yeah, we've been we got the national broadband connection here in Australia connected about several months ago, and had lots of problems with things dropping out. You might have seen my previous videos. I've had to finish them early, but so far, touch wood, it's been great today. So yeah, maybe it's all to do because I haven't told anyone on Facebook or anywhere that this video is live. So when you don't tell people about it, then you don't say anything. You just keep it to those who found it. Maybe that causes the thing not to drop out. QRP kit video should start making radios in walkie-talkie form. Why? Because main problem with walkie-talkies is the weight of the antenna. If you want an efficient antenna, it's probably not going to be hand carried unless you have it in a backpack, like I sometimes do for pedestrian mobile. So yeah, yeah, no, not a fan of the handheld format. A bit of a novelty. I prefer, what they sometimes call the trail-friendly radio, with the front panel sticking up, so you can look at, so you can have all your controls facing you when you're sitting on the ground. I think that works. Do I know Dave Jones? Haven't met him, but watched plenty of his videos, and yep, fantastic. He's actually the same age as me, so things he talks about when he started, very similar to my own experiences. And there's also the EEV blog forum. There's a radio, amateur radio RF section, so that's got quite a lot of interesting discussion on the technical sides of amateur radio and RF. So yeah, that's worth looking at. 27 viewers still. This is VK3YE, and I'm Peter, where you can ask me anything. And that's pretty much all I've got on the table. 18650 batteries can be useful, yeah. Need a good fuse in line, yes. What batteries give, they can take, and sometimes it can end with a bang. What else have we got? I've got a mirror here. We'll just, what happens when you hold the mirror up to a camera? Oh, that's interesting. Well, and the lighting is actually quite good. Do I ever watch Ham Nation or... Okay, this mirror, it's not a proper mirror. It's distorted. As you can see, I've got 4 eyes there. Well, this is working quite well. I should get a bigger mirror than this. This would allow me to I'm still holding the camera. If I hold the mirror further away, all I see is my mouth. What's my local time? Yeah, you're right, 7:57 a.m. to 7:58 a.m. Okay. There we are. And I think glad that you enjoy my posts and stuff. This reminds me a bit of some of the early Baird TV pictures. It's a similarly bad resolution. I should probably use one of those helping hand things. If I had a tripod in support of the camera and something else to support this mirror, yeah, that is working quite well. What got me doing into YouTube? Well, pretty much an extension. Like I've been, writing articles for magazines, amateur magazines, and when the web came, in about '97, it's funny. Looking through the screen, my shirt looks green, even though it's actually blue. Interesting. The color balance is terrible. Yeah. So I started my own website in about '97, and yeah, I thought, oh well, YouTube seemed a natural thing, and so I started that about 10 years or so ago. Am I self-taught? I suppose, but only because others have written stuff that's been helpful, and I've learned from that. VK3PSK or PGK. What portable radio would you recommend for QRP portable work? Overall, as it's one radio that does everything. There are radios that are better at it for certain things than others, but as a general purpose radio, I would say the Yaesu FT817. There we are. Yaesu FT817. Yeah, it does a lot. Like, there are other radios out there, but something like the 817, you can do 2 meters SSB, 70 centimeters SSB. It's got a good receiver. It's handy for satellite work. For HF, it's fine. The microphone it comes with, don't I look? I'm not pulling faces. This is the distorted mirror that I'm holding up to the camera. 30 views, fantastic. And this is, if you're wondering what this strange looking image on your screen is, this is Ask Me Anything, and I'm Peter VK3YE, and just experimenting with cameras and mirrors. I think I had about 5 eyes there for a moment. Yeah, 817, great general purpose rig. What was I going to say about it? Mode the mic. Yeah, definitely. The mic it comes with isn't so good. There's a thing you can buy, I think, from Germany, where you get the a better mic that you plug in. I put in a different electret and an electret insert, and that made a huge difference. I did 1 or 2 videos from it, and people are always saying that, when I say, oh, you're an 817, that's not the standard mic, is it? No. This is a lot punchier audio, and for QRP, punchy audio is really, really important. Yep, so it's like almost like adding an amplifier. German mic compressor, yeah. People have had successful results with that. I wouldn't say it's not good. Like, it sounds good on FM and 2 meters, but yeah. And I've had a lot of successful HF contacts with the standard mic on the 817. What do I think is the best battery for the 817 portable? I've generally gone for external batteries. There are internal batteries you can buy, which I think are around 3 amp hour. That will keep you going for a couple of hours. I use a LIFE PO4 thing. It looks a lot like a sealed lead acid battery. It costs quite a lot of money. It was like $150 or $180. But anyway, so far it's been great. And oh, it's a bit clearer when I hold the camera up. LIFEPO4. It looks like a sealed lead acid thing. It's black, and you'd almost think it was, but it does need a special charger. Have I tried LIPO? Have to be a bit careful with those. They have been some interesting pyrotechnic displays with them. I don't think I've only tried LIFEPO4. The others I had, they were the blue type. They worked for a while, then they got fat and capacity diminished. But yeah, the LIFEPO4s are very light as well. And I don't know, I look like an ugly sea creature. You'd find this thing at the bottom of the ocean. But anyway, this, if you're wondering, this is not a flat mirror. I don't know where I found it, but anyway, I thought it's but yeah, lightweight is quite important if you're QRP portable, and if you're on a budget and weight doesn't matter, then it's amazing how cheap you get. For the dollars per amp hour, sealed lead acid batteries are still cheap and good for running the FT817. The 12-volt 7 amp hour type is okay. JCar sell them. I think they've been around $30 for years and years, if not decades. But yeah, they do weigh a ton. Good for security. Yeah, they can be. LiPos can be like bombs. If you've just turned on, it says Ask Me Anything, and I'm Peter VK3YE. And we have been going for just over an hour, 8:05 a.m. local time here in Melbourne. If there aren't too many questions, I might wrap it up. Looks like I've had a nose job. Okay, well, I can get a different nose job if I move the mirror. I can, we can. This is like one of these crazy mirror things, and this is not a proper mirror. I think it's like, well, it's not proper glass. It's some sort of reflective thing. Do you play with Arduino or Raspberry Pi? Well, I had a great opportunity at the Hamfest, which I passed up. There were Raspberry Pis, or 3 of them, going for $45. Then later on, they dropped the price down to $20, and I could have got them, but yet no, I didn't. It's one of these things I've been meaning to start off with. I have tried the Arduino a bit. I've done a couple of videos. I think I did one for a Morse CQ caller and a DDS VFO. That's the most advanced I've got for the Raspberry Pi. Sorry, for the Arduino. So yeah, I have tried a little bit. I should do more of them, but yeah, just so many projects and stuff that I haven't done much lately. Let's hit the like button. Yeah, like the button, and have a look at my website, VK3YE.com. Browse any of the books. What was my first? And if there's any books you like, then jump over to Amazon. What was my first QSO? It was a CW contact, or at least half of it was CW. It was on 80 meters on a Sunday morning, and they had the, they still do, the broadcast that comes out from the Wireless Institute. So it's a Sunday morning news broadcast, and they have a callback. Any SDR transmitters, haven't done anything with them. Nearest I've got to SDR is some of the crude receivers I've built. But yeah, anyway, the Sunday morning, they have this callback, and after the news, to ask how people are hearing it. Anyway, it happened to be on a frequency 3580, which is also a frequency that you can buy crystals for. So I had a 3580 megahertz crystal and this valve CW transmitter, and the callback was on SSB, but I came in on CW and was able to be heard and had a contact there. So that was my first CW, the first contact. And I had, color burst crystals, and I had quite a few contacts that way. It was hard going because it wasn't in the CW end of the band. I got a crystal later on for 3560, which was better because that was lower down. And then I think I was lent one for 3530. So, that was a 1-valve 80-meter homebrew CW transmitter. And for a receiver, I was using a National Panasonic 8-transistor radio and another receiver held up to it for a beat frequency oscillator. That's so I could receive SSB and CW. So a pretty crude arrangement, but it did work. Do I think Radio Australia will come back to HF? They might have done, because there was an election, and the side that lost was promising they'd do something about Radio Australia. But yeah, that didn't happen, so possibly not. Have I tried any of KD1JV's rigs? No, I haven't. Just trying to think of them. KD1JV. I have tried one of Dave Benson's rigs, but KD1JV, I think that's another guy. Okay, we've still got 28 views, which is pretty good. You can ask me anything, and I'm Peter VK3YE. Okay, well, we've been going for a while, so if there are no further questions, we'll... Oh, another question. Is there an Echolink or All-Star repeater near you? I'm pretty sure there's... Oh, Echolink. Just one moment. Just one moment. I don't know about All-Star. Just a reflection on the current state of affairs. Yeah, imagine the ionosphere is like this uneven mirror, although there'd probably be more holes than this. When was I first licensed? Licensed in 85, and got on air in 87. I spent a while trying to build transmitters that worked, and they didn't. And anyway, eventually a one valve thing did. Echolink, W8LV Bill. Just one moment. You'll see some blank wall for a while, but I will grab the phone as I've got Echolink on that. Okay, we're now back, and we'll see if we can bring up Echolink this side. I've never thought of using Echolink as a thing. Where is it? I'll just connect to my... just doing a few settings here. I do have Echolink. I very rarely use it. Yeah, I'm just trying to think how things are sorted. I don't think they're alphabetical order. Settings, no. Or maybe they are, no. Oh, Echolink, okay. This is a bit of a first, and it could work or it might not. Could you explain SWR in a video? Yeah, one of the most misunderstood topics. Node types, okay. Recent QSOs. I suppose I suppose you can dial up any Echolink node. So is there a just trying to think of the one that I connected to before. Okay, VK. Welcome to all. Here we are. Hub only, no RF. I'll just do a test. VK3YE testing. I'm not sure if that worked, but this may or may not be the right node. But anyway, I'm now on VK3MP-L and bearing All-Star node 46287, Echolink node VK3MP-L 748872, hub only, no RF. So I'm not sure if that's a suitable one, but anyway, system linked KI4VAA. So I'm not sure if that's me. Oh, well, there was something there. I have another transmission. Well, there is a lot of echo. Maybe, I'm not sure if it's your end or if it's coming through the system. So maybe try wearing headphones or something and see if that improves it.
It's my end because I'm listening to your live broadcast.
Ah, well, that was good. That was good. Anyway, this is a very interesting, I suppose you could say it's a crossband contact, but hello to KI4VAA. So have a bit of a say via Echolink. Okay.
I don't know if you're talking to me either, but this is Whiskey America 3 Ocean in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
A Whiskey America 3 Ocean in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So I hope you heard that okay. But yep, we are monitoring VK3MP-L on Echolink. And the Echolink node is 7488872. Okay, there's a few comments here. So, could I explain SWR? Oh, SWR is a real minefield. Not sure if I'm going to dare explain it. There will be a lot of other good descriptions. There's a series of articles, Another Look at Reflections by Walter Maxwell. I think that's generally regarded as the definitive source on explaining SWR. But the gist of it is that it is silly to aim with a... you don't assume that an absolutely one-to-one SWR means your antenna is going to be necessarily be perfectly efficient.
W8LB listening.
W8NLB listening. So I'm not sure if yep, a good signal here in Melbourne. So yeah, with the SWR and antennas, yeah, one-to-one SWR, like a dummy load, is no good as an antenna.
Yep, I can hear it with a little bit of delay through YouTube.
Okay, a little bit of delay through YouTube, but yeah, good to hear you on Echolink. I wonder if people can connect to me privately without going through VK3MP. I think I have had a one-to-one Echolink contact before, but not for a long time. Anyway, SWR thing, yeah, dummy load can be perfectly one-to-one, 50 ohm resistive, yet it's hopeless as a radiating antenna. And the...
Not much of a delay, it's just a very tiny delay.
Very tiny. Usable. Yeah, very tiny delay. Yeah, good. So yeah, with the so yeah, one-to-one SWR is no guarantee of your antenna being 100% efficient radiator. On the other hand, a high SWR, you can still if you have a low loss feed line, if you have a very high loss feed, if you have a high loss feed line, like a long length of coaxial cable, and you've got an impedance mismatch, then yep, there can be significant losses. If you've got a low loss feed line,
VK3 Yankee Echo, Kilo Golf 0 Papa Lima calling you.
KG, no, I should allow KG0PL. This is VK3 Yankee Echo, loud and clear in Melbourne.
KG0PL, Kilo Golf 0 Papa Lima, also known as G0 Mike Echo Juliet, over.
Yeah, G0 Mike Echo Juliet. Good signal in Melbourne. Good signal in Melbourne. Over.
Yeah, okay, Peter. As I said, I do speak to your fellow friend VK3 Papa Bravo on a regular basis, and I know Steve, the real DX group, that I'm just up the coast. The reason why I'm using my US call because he's one that's registered first. So, but I'm in Darwin first in
Yeah, Roger, southwest part of Cumbria. Yep, came through not too bad. Bit of little bit little bit rough, but copyable here in Melbourne. Okay, so yeah, 8:19 local time here. Of course, we're not going through RF at all. Is it still Monday there, or is it still Sunday night? No, it's Monday morning, 8:20 a.m. Does SWR affect receive much? No. Don't worry about it. If the impedance mismatch, if it's a gross mismatch, like especially if you're using a crystal set, you do need every microvolt or millivolt counts, and you do need an efficient power transfer from the antenna through to the receiver if you're using a crystal set. Most receivers have enough gain that it doesn't matter so much. They've got an RF preamps, and there's noise, ambient noise on HF. So no, even if there's a big impedance mismatch, you'll still be able to hear signals through on HF on receiving end. How many amp hours, how many amp hours is the LIFE PO4 battery that I use? I use around 7 amp hour. That's a good compromise between weight and capacity. Roughly, rough rule of thumb, and it will vary, 1 amp hour gives you about 1 hour of transmitting and receiving. So for a casual QRP portable operating, 3 amp hour would be okay if you're just going out for a couple of hours. And then that's quite light as well. Range of usable voltage as well depends on the battery and on the transceiver. The FT817 I think can go between 8 and 16 volts. It's your power indicator starts flashing, I think, around below 9 volts or 10 volts, something like that. But yeah, you can use the 817 down to I think about 7.5 volts, and then it cuts out. But yeah, you have to note that with the battery, I think with some batteries it's not very good to draw lots of current from them down at low voltages. You could get a little voltmeter, inline voltmeter, and monitor the voltage inline. That will be before your loss due to the power cable. So that's what some people do. But yeah, some people use a... Okay, K0 GPL, I think. Yeah, good evening to you. This is VK3YE.
It's not too bad for being Peter. KT0PL is my couple columns really call sign. Yeah, I played on amateur logic on New Year's Day Eve, so I'm quite familiar with it. I'm a bit of a long-time viewer. I don't like typing because I'm dyslexic. I've read some of your books over.
Yeah, Roger, thanks for that, and glad you enjoy the books. And yeah, okay. Well, this Echolink thing, it's really good idea. But yeah, I think it's something that we can do in future live videos. So whoever it is, thanks for suggesting it. I think it's successful. It's probably easier for me reading comments, but yeah, the occasional comment as well adds a bit of life to the video, I think. Now, you can ask me anything, and I'm Peter VK3YE, and I'm live from Melbourne. Are there any questions? How to test junk box ferrites? Now, that's funny. Funny you should mention that. From GH, I was talking to Ralph VK3ZZC the other day, coming back from the Hamfest, talking about junk box ferrites. He was saying, I think that a lot of the shiny ferrites are pretty useless, but you could test it. Apparently, a good way to test it is with a fairly obscure piece of test equipment, at least these days. They used to be more common, called a noise bridge. Oh, I can. I'll show my face here. A noise bridge, RF noise bridge. You have a broadband FM. Oh, sorry, FM. I'm reading something else. That's a later question. RF noise bridge. So you'd have a broadband RF white noise generator, the noise bridge, and a receiver.
VK3YE, Mike Hero Fox, Lima Fox. Just to say hello, it was me that suggested the Echolink thing. My name's Craig, I'm over in England, and I think your videos are awesome, mate. Keep it up. VK3YE from M0FLF, cheers, Pete.
M0FLF, thank you for that. Thanks for your idea, and something we'll definitely be doing later on. And really clear audio as well. Came through excellent. So many thanks for the idea. Now, have I played with a long wave band? I have not quite long wave. It's still technically medium frequency, but yeah, 473 kilohertz. I have transmitted whisper. In fact, I think I might have transmitted CW once. So I built a CW transmitter, haven't properly got it on the air, but I have transmitted whisper using it's a whisper transmitter kit from Sweden. I reviewed Zactec, that's right. Anyway, I could get it to transmit on 472 or 3 kilohertz, whatever it was, and that was successful. I was just using the G5RV. I had this big loading coil on the lounge room floor, and I was spotted about 400 kilometers away down in VK7. I did a video on it at the time, so yeah. I have transmitted that 630 meters is the lowest I've been, but yeah, I have used it. I don't have a dedicated antenna. What I've got would be horribly inefficient, but with an efficient mode like Whisper, it can still do fine. Now there was a question I was halfway through answering about those junk box ferrites. Yeah, if you made something with a RF noise bridge, a general coverage receiver, white noise generator. You can make an RF test jig and do all sorts of tests with resonant frequencies of tuned circuits, and I think you can even do antenna tests. This was what people did before antenna analyzers. So look up RF noise bridge. Maybe you could make some sort of ferrite bell or transformer and connect up several of them, and put a signal through and measure the output power going in and measure the output going out, and maybe that's how you can detect loss. But yeah, a lot of the ferrites in switch mode power supplies are apparently quite lossy, so they might not be useful for some RF indications. Applications. Crystal locked FM bug ever built and used? Well, someone built it. This is it here. But they didn't actually use it because they left a couple of items off the board. So I have built this one. I haven't yet used it. I've put in another coil. I need to modify it because it was on the wrong frequency. There was an FM broadcast station too close by. So maybe I can get some indication it is transmitting somewhere. I've got no idea as its range, so I might do some more adjustments with this. Maybe it could be a future video, but yeah. And what's the magazine? Well, it's in the Talking Electronics publication called 5 More FM Bugs. But if you go to the Talking Electronics website, in fact, if you went into Google and search Crystal Locked FM Bug and Talking Electronics, I'm pretty sure, in fact, I know its circuit is online. I looked at it a few days ago. So, so there's all this information. Am I still on Echolink? The phone has got me on a list. I think I might have moved the phone and disconnected. Let's have a look. Do I want to exit application? No. Oh, I'm still connected. Oh, excellent. I'm still connected. It's just that the screen is on. That's. Oh, I just pressed the wrong button. That's fine. I am connected to VK3MP-L, listening on Echolink, which is All-Star node 46287 and 748872. Or you can type your question on YouTube. Yeah, so to answer your question, yeah, Talking Electronics website, there's info on the crystal locked FM bug. And as far as I can tell, the article on the website is the same as in this book. So yeah, information still available. Do you have a protection board on your LiPo? Prevents overcharging? I don't, but I do use a smart charger that should be okay. Yeah. So I don't have anything that prevents over discharging. So maybe that's something I should look into. But yeah, for the overcharging thing, I rely on the smart charger. And okay, well, let's see if there's anything on. Just having a look on Facebook. Oh, I haven't mentioned this thing on Facebook at all. Sometimes I put a note saying that people can come here, but haven't needed to. And there's been enough people wandering by on YouTube to ask me enough questions to keep me talking. I don't think I've missed any questions. Oh, that's right. Another long wave thing. I have done some receiving here. I built a converter for. It covers low and medium frequencies. And a local ham here, Drew VK3YE, who's also written quite a few radio books and articles on homebrew projects. He had a beacon going. He was trying 136 kilohertz, also 470, 500 kilohertz when he was able to get a license for that, and 160 meters. And I could hear his beacon on 136 kilohertz. He was about 30 or 40, I think about maybe 40 or 50 kilometers from here. I could hear it just on the, might have just used the ferrite rod, or maybe I coupled something from my wire antenna. But yeah, I could hear him on 136 kilohertz, which really is low frequency. But then he tried 500 kilohertz, and then 472. And I could hear him better on 630 meters, probably because his antenna was more efficient. And that was even better than on 160 meters. So yeah, that's all I've done with LF. Simple RF synthesizers, DDS modules. I did try a huff and puff. I'm not sure if you could quite call it an RF synthesizer. I suppose you could. It was a frequency stabilizer for a free-running VFO. So I think the idea was when it drifted, it would catch it and it would use a varactor diode and get it back on the frequency. I have built one of those. But yeah, pretty much an interesting technique, but pretty much obsolete with DDSs. And Maplin Electronics back in business, mail order in the UK. So thanks for that. Okay, this is VK3YE live from Melbourne. And this is not quite what I look like. It's a mirror that's somewhat distorted. Well, things seem to have gone quiet. Don't seem to have been anything coming through on Echolink. I'm listening on VK3MP-L. The node is 7488-872. I don't know if you actually need the node number or not, as I've given the call sign. And there's also All-Star 46287. And you can also ask questions on the live chat. But we have been going for over 90 minutes. So I know I said this about half an hour ago, but I think I'll wrap it up fairly soon if there aren't any more questions. Have you ever used APRS via the ARISS? No, I haven't. It sounds pretty cool. But
thank you for the interesting CISO, YouTube and Echolink
Okay, there was a comment there, not all that clear. It was somewhat jumbled, but 50th anniversary, I presume, of the moon landing. So yeah, have another go.
Thanks for the very interesting QSO here. Whoever thought we'd have a QSO like this, where part of it's video through YouTube and part of it's through Echolink, computer to computer, it's kind of to radio, on the 50th anniversary of Apollo 11, 73's W8LD.
Okay, much clearer. Thank you, W8LD, 50th anniversary of Apollo 11. Now, I should mention, now you've possibly seen it, but there's a, okay. There is a website that VK3DZ sent me. I will copy it. I will have a look on, I'll bring it up on my screen. This has, I think it might be an amateur effort to piece together all these recordings from Apollo 11. Probably can't, I'm pointing at the screen, you're probably not getting a very good picture of it. But the website is called, okay, get a pen handy, apolloinrealtime.org/11. Now, let's see what happens if we take out the 11 and, oh no, it seems to be just the Apollo 11. Okay, so apolloinrealtime.org. You don't need the 11 on the link and it will work. And if you go to stuff like T-11,
the ignition sequence at 8.9 seconds. We're approaching the 60-second mark on the Apollo 11 mission. T-minus 60 seconds and counting. Past T-minus.
And then it's a really good website. There's all these little snippets. So if you click on various mission control channels, and you can hear it. So if you've got a bit of time, have a look at apolloinrealtime.org/11, which could be worth looking at. Okay, there's a few comments. We'll just turn off Apollo. So many things to listen to here. Okay. Any good projects you advise to start with, best bang for the buck? Well, I'd suggest something simple that works. For general electronics stuff, the talkingelectronics.com website is really good. Got lots of ideas from the Talking Electronics books. Get yourself a copy of Funway. Yeah, I have reviewed. I did do a review video of Funway. I do have a copy of Funway 2 here. It's got 20 projects, but there's a lot of other stuff you can get free online. Some of the Funway projects, like the CB radio receiver on 27 megahertz, are pretty dated now. You wouldn't be able to hear anything on them. But yeah, you can still get the bits for most of them. But yeah, overall, the Talking Electronics website has got hundreds and hundreds of project ideas. So there's some really good technical explanations in their book. I have on my own video channel done a simple crystal oscillator where I go from the circuit diagram from scratch. Yeah, that's one of the important skills, to be able to build something from a circuit diagram and put it together. But yeah, Talking Electronics website has a lot of stuff online and projects. And start off with 1 or 2 transistor things with simple ICs, and then go up as you get more confident. Can I get on at 7150 tonight? I don't have much of a DX antenna here, and the noise is terrible. I presume that's 10 UTC on 7150. If I'm around, I will. I'm terrible at keeping skeds. I tend to be quite spontaneous, a bit like this video thing. So If I'm on, I'm on. If I'm not, I'm not. If I don't feel like I'm radio, I don't go on. So yeah, I've written it down. So yeah, maybe not. I don't have much of it set up here. I've got a G5RV antenna and 100 watts. Okay, more homemade transceiver for QRP CW. You haven't been doing a lot of QRP CW, at least building transmitters. Have been doing a bit of operating, testing that review double sideband CW rig, which I'll talk about in a future video. Ian should hear me. Well, yes and no. Well, Ian is about probably about 70 or 80 kilometers away, which can be a funny distance on 40 meters. So yeah, depends on propagation. Okay, this, I think, I haven't had a drink. It's getting a bit thirsty, so I think we'll just watch for
VK3 Yankee Echo from KV0PL.
Okay, KV0PL is there. Good signal.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. This is 0 Golf 0 Alpha limit. It's actually the PL is my middle name is MU, and the last name is Lawrence. So there you go. Thank you.
Roger there, Lawrence. Thanks for calling in and checking in on Echolink.
Thank you for the wonderful show, and enjoy, and I will talk to you soon.
Roger. Thank you, and see you next time. This is yeah, a bit chopped up there. There being no further comments on the live chat.
Yeah, it's chopped up. Yeah, okay. I'll talk to Peter, VK3 Papa Bravo, and next Friday.
Okay, no worries. And downside up, built the Talking Electronics Tech 1A computer from blank circuit boards. So glad you got it working. Now, let us see if there is, there might even be an advertisement for it in here. Love the Garand transmitter. Well, that transmitter is actually no more. It was a VXO controlled CW transmitter for 7 megahertz and direct conversion receiver. And I think I can't remember. I think I only used one crystal. I didn't know about the super VXO then of 2 crystals in parallel. But yeah, used one crystal and could pull it about 15 kilohertz. But I'd use that same box to build a 80-meter CW transmitter that only tunes about 3 kilohertz. But I did use it fairly recently in a CW contest on 80 meters. I've done a couple of videos on that. Any reference for crystal set build with a grandson? Emphasis would be on performance. I can't think of any off the top of my head, but make sure you have a crystal set that has a tapped coil, because there are some crystal sets where you just connect the antenna to the junction of the tuning coil and the variable capacitor, and they're really no good unless you're using a short wire antenna, because they'll lower the Q and you won't be able to separate stations. So have something that's got a tapped coil. And the really good crystal sets have impedance matching between the antenna and the tuned circuit, so you can get really good power transfer of the signal, which is really important because signal level is absolutely critical with crystal set. Okay, haven't heard Norm VK7AC for a year. You could always hear him in the UK. Hope he's okay. And yeah, no, I haven't heard him. Anyway, just have a look through this talking electronics thing, just to see if there's that any adverts for that Tech 1A computer. There's some stuff on car tracking, plugging. A lot of things that, oh, this is the stuff where connect up to telephones. And of course, there's a copy of the Telecommunications Act, which talks about all this stuff. So basically, all the stuff in here, you know, a lot of the stuff would be using it would be illegal. You know, at least if you're listening to other people. I think you can do your own stuff if it's your own things. But yeah, anyway, some really interesting products here. But yeah, they at least you can say you weren't warned. The Telecommunications Act is in there. Anyway, yeah, talking electronics, quite interesting. Anyway, we'll have a bit of a leaf through, see if we've got mention of that computer. There's a Vox bug. Really good technical explanations in these. Because they filled the really simple end of the electronics market that the other magazines didn't. It's very practical, very hands-on. I thought I saw, did I see something tech, the computer, listed in here. A logic probe. Let's see. How do I remind? Anyway, there's a whole list of things that you could order from them. Oh, that was using the TDA 7000. Yeah, little FM radio thing. Oh, just reading this. Colin Mitchell's. What's the most important thing in life? The answer is simple. It's money, money, money. Comes miles ahead of whatever is in second place. Of course, we know health and happiness are important, and yet money constantly comes ahead of everything else in a recent survey. Oh, and anyway, this is all about Colin Mitchell's philosophies with wealth and money and business and all that. Fascinating. Car tracker notebook. Okay, I don't think there's the ad for that computer. And oh, there's a really good explanation here about Q. I should reread these things. I read them at the time and think how good they are, and then I sort of forget about them and whatever. You know, I should really read things all the time, and so I don't forget. You know, that's a bit of an impromptu book review of 5 more FM bugs from Talking Electronics. And yeah, okay, volumes 10 through to 14 of the TE mag. Yeah, I don't have any of the TE mags. I've got the although I did see some at the Hamfest the other day. I did. I didn't buy them. I've got quite a few of the FM bug and other books. Okay, so that's me waffling on. I think I've gone on for too long. So yeah, thanks all for joining, and this has been a most successful session. Haven't had any internet dropouts, and we've had a few innovations. For instance, Echolink. We'll definitely remember to do it again. If I forget and I'm online, yes, I can listen on Echolink. So it's fantastic. This is Peter VK3YE, and if you are watching after I've gone live, you can leave questions or comments in the comments below once this gets uploaded on YouTube. Thanks all for participating, and have a good day.